Some people walk through life invisible, until one moment reveals who they truly are. This is the story of a single dad no one respected. A man people brushed past, judged quietly, and overlooked every single day. But everything changed the moment the CEO discovered his secret, a secret that left an entire company speechless and reshaped the way they saw kindness forever. Before we begin, if you love powerful kindness stories, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment to support the channel. You're watching Kindness Tales, where every story reminds us that the smallest kindness can change a life. The morning rush had just begun when David Parker walked into Westbrook Industries, carrying a small, worn-out lunchbox and the tired eyes of a man who hadn't slept enough in years. He worked as a building assistant, basically the person everyone called when something needed fixing, lifting, cleaning, or adjusting. People didn't dislike him, they just never noticed him. He blended into the background like the hum of the air conditioner. David didn't mind the hard work. What bothered him was how people talked to him, short, dismissive sentences, clipped tones, or worse, ignoring him entirely. He kept his head down because he knew he didn't have the energy for pride. Not when he was raising a 6-year-old daughter alone. Most nights, he worked late shifts as a grocery stocker. Then he returned home to help Emma with homework, cook, clean, and tuck her into bed before collapsing into sleep himself. But he never complained. He had something that kept him going, a promise he made to his late wife: our daughter will always feel loved. But inside the company, no one knew anything about his life. They only knew him as the quiet janitor guy. One morning, the CEO, Rebecca Lawson, arrived earlier than usual. She was known for being sharp, focused, and intimidating. People said she could walk into a room and instantly raise the temperature of everyone's nerves. David wasn't nervous. He always treated everyone the same, kindly and respectfully. Rebecca had been carrying a coffee, eyes glued to her phone, when the elevator suddenly jerked. The doors froze halfway. Her coffee splashed all over her blouse, and she muttered something under her breath. David, who had been polishing the lobby floor, looked up. "Ma'am, are you okay?" She looked frustrated. "The elevator's stuck again." "Great." David quickly put down his tools and stepped forward. "Hang on, I can help." Rebecca almost said, "Maintenance isn't your job," but she caught herself. She didn't even know what his job really was. She never paid attention. Within minutes, David worked calmly, loosening the panel, resetting the connection, and helping her climb out safely. Rebecca dusted herself off. "Thank you." "David, right?" He nodded politely. "Yes, ma'am." She realized she had never once said his name before. Later that day, Rebecca was walking past the conference hall when she overheard 2 employees gossiping. "That guy will always be nothing but a janitor." "Yeah, I heard he barely finished school." Rebecca paused. She saw David at the end of the hallway, fixing a projector, oblivious to the comments. Something about it bothered her, how easily people judged him, and how quietly he endured it. The next morning, Rebecca arrived early again. She saw David outside, handing a small backpack to a tiny girl with bright brown eyes. She recognized the affection instantly, the kind that couldn't be faked. "Have a good day, sweetheart," he whispered, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Love you, Daddy," she chirped before skipping toward her school bus stop across the street. Rebecca's eyes widened. David was a single dad? She waited until he walked back toward the building. "I didn't know you had a daughter," she said gently. David smiled shyly. "Emma's my whole world." Something softened inside Rebecca. She wanted to understand this man people overlooked. "Would you mind joining me for a coffee break later?" she asked. David froze, confused. "Me?" "Yes, you," she said with a small laugh. At lunchtime, they sat in the quiet corner of the employee cafe. Rebecca expected small talk, but what she got was a story that humbled her. David shared how he lost his wife to cancer, how their savings disappeared under medical bills, how he took every job he could find just to keep up with rent and groceries. He talked about nights when he slept only 3 hours, mornings he cried in the shower where Emma couldn't hear, and the fierce determination that kept him going. Rebecca felt her throat tighten. "David, how do you stay so kind through all that?" He shrugged softly. "Because kindness is the one thing no one can take from you. And I want my daughter to see that even in hard times, her dad treated people with grace." That sentence stayed with her long after he walked away. The next week, Westbrook Industries hosted its annual charity fundraiser. Employees volunteered hours, but participation had been low. Rebecca stood before the board, announcing a change. "This year, everyone will attend. And we'll highlight one of our own, someone who shows what kindness looks like." People whispered, curious. The day of the event arrived. Lights glowed, music hummed, and the company gathered, dressed in their best. Rebecca stepped onto the stage. "Tonight," she began, "we honor someone who walks among us unseen. Someone who works twice as hard as anyone in this room, not for applause, but for love." David, standing in the back, swallowed hard, realizing she meant him. This is a man raising a daughter alone. A man working 2 jobs so she never goes without. A man who never complains, never demands respect, but deserves more of it than he's ever been given. Employees turned, shocked, staring at David with new eyes. Rebecca continued, "Tonight, the company is awarding David Parker a full scholarship fund for his daughter, Emma. And starting Monday, he will step into a new role, Community Outreach Coordinator, because kindness like his should lead the way." Gasps filled the room. A few people wiped tears. David felt his knees weaken. He had never expected anything, especially not this. He stepped onto the stage, eyes wet, voice trembling. "Thank you. I don't know what to say. I just try to be the person I want my daughter to become someday. I didn't think anyone noticed." Rebecca placed a hand on his shoulder. "We notice now. And we're better for it." The room erupted into applause, not out of politeness, but genuine respect. From that night on, people greeted David differently. They asked how he was, offered help, and treated him with dignity, something he had always given them. And his daughter? She grew up knowing her father wasn't invisible. He was extraordinary. Sometimes the greatest heroes aren't the ones in corner offices or wearing suits. Sometimes they're the quiet ones sweeping hallways, fixing broken things, carrying invisible burdens, and choosing kindness even when life gives them every reason to be bitter. Kindness doesn't need an audience. But when people finally see it, it changes everything. And that's the story of the single dad no one respected, until the CEO discovered his secret, and the world discovered his worth.